I think one of the main motifs and kind of ideas that surround your work is the idea of intimacy. You know, the figures you paint, it's extremely close up on them. Whenever you have multiple figures, they're very close together. It seems like a strong bond between, such as this painting, you know, it seems like a very firm connection and relationship between the figures you paint, the maybe the figure and themselves. And yeah, I kind of just wanted to talk about intimacy. How strong is the idea of intimacy in your work, and the thoughts you have when creating it?
I think it's always about both. So like distance and closeness. So intimacy might describe exactly these two movements between figures. So they can become really close, but they can also become distant and be close in distance. So it's about the relationship of figures, and thus these figures are representatives of human beings, of a human experience. So it's always about the question of how close can we get and still be two, or when is the point when we become one, when we merge. And I think this is all maybe described by the term intimacy. Yeah. Just let me know if it's too complicated the way I'm answering, because when we write, I can order my thoughts a bit better.
Well, why is this idea so important to you? Distance and becoming one, as you say.
Yeah, I feel it's about being connected and about seeing each other. And this is also connected to the idea of, in a way, of dignity of life. So when we see each other, we understand that we are living and that we are worth living, and that's connected to love. So the idea of closeness and distance is connected to the idea of are we able to love life? It's complicated to say, but if we lose each other, we lose ourselves, and that's a problem, I think, because then it's about losing connection to Earth in the end. Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah. Do you think that's a problem that we're facing today?
Yeah, I think so. That we're not looking at the Earth in a way of being in dignity. So when we use resources and we use each other and we're seeing each other as objects to make ourselves stronger or more independent, more autonomous, then we lose the basis for what life actually is, because we're all connected. So it's a misunderstanding, I think. It's a misunderstanding that I get stronger and another one gets weaker, and we both get weaker in the end. So it doesn't make sense, but it's something we misunderstand. And I think it's probably based on an inner lack of integrity, an inner lack of self-confidence. Because when we are having our integrity, when we feel confident in ourselves, we are more connected to love and to seeing that everything around us is connected to us, and that we can support ourselves when we support others or support resources.
Mm-hmm. What do you think is the cause for this lack of love and connectivity in the world?
Yeah, that's something I don't know, because it's so easy to say we have this problem now. And I don't know if that's true, because I didn't live 100 years ago. But when we look at the history of humankind, it seems that it has always been part of the human experience. Mm-hmm. So it seems that we can't get rid of pain and lacking something, always lacking something.
Totally.
So maybe it's more about, becoming whole with the lack.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, to understand that this is life. Life is not without death, for instance. It's just, we need to face that we are dying, or that we're having like friends who become very sick, or that we're losing something, and still be whole with it, with the experience. Mm-hmm. But this is a lot. I don't know if it's possible. I don't know if it's possible to have a painful experience and be with it and see what comes out of it, what is good of it.
Yeah. Yes, I think a lot of times when we experience painful events and tragedies and traumas in our life, it kind of can either go two ways. You dive more into the negativity of the world, and you believe the world is a bad place because of it, or life in general is negative because of the tragedy. Or on the other side, we embrace it and kind of see it as a way to get stronger, or a kind of a beauty in the yin and yang of life. Mm-hmm. How there can't be good without bad, and sometimes the bad makes you appreciate the good even more. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. I think we lose integrity when we disconnect. I think disconnect from pain, for instance, when we say this is something I want to get rid of, the bad thing, so to say, I want to get rid of, then we disconnect, and then we lose integrity because we can't disconnect. It's not something which is possible, but we just disconnect from our feelings to that, or disconnect from the parts in ourselves which are hurt. And this is something also I try to digest in my work. This is why there's always also a kind of distant, stone-like atmosphere, or figures who become stone or become like a cold material. It's also about understanding the disconnected parts of ourselves, which become stone-like because they are no longer fluid. We can't feel everything when we are disconnected. So we might have parts of ourselves which are just not present. And my work is also about heating these things up so that everything becomes smooth again, so that we understand, oh, this is a stone-like part, but it's still part of the whole thing. So there might be a stone figure in the middle of a group of figures which are all touching this figure, and we see like body texture changing. So this is something I love to do in paint, because it's so possible to change the physicality of bodies. So you might have a stone or something which is metal even, and then the same figure in the same painting becomes air or becomes water. So it's like moving between these gravity poles. And I try to transfer these ideas, these concepts into an experience through painting.
Yeah, totally. With the figures that you paint, to me they remind me a lot of Greek and Roman architecture, stone, marble statues, and kind of classic, masterful sculpture. Why do you think these figures lend themselves to these ideas that you have?
Yeah, I actually have many different bodies of works, but I think the ones with the statues, the Roman classical figures, are just pretty... what is the word for that in English? I don't know. So it's often represented when it comes to my work. So that's why people recognize my work through these paintings. But this is actually just one part of my whole body of work. But concerning your question, I think for me, they were interesting that I used them first because I'm pretty connected to the art history and sometimes I think maybe also because there's Italian roots in my genes. So I was thinking maybe this is why I was so connected to this kind of cultural, how to say it, outlook, appearance. It's a cultural idea of beauty, which is having some roots in Italy, but not all. I mean, we know that it's older than that. So the Italian sculptors, they used antique Greek sculptures as a reference for their sculptures. So it's a longer story in the end, but I sometimes think maybe I was drawn to it in the first place because of the Italian connection. And then I realized it just makes sense for my work because these figures are representatives for human faces, but they are not human. It's not a portrait of anyone. It's just like avatar. And it's easy to fill this avatar with what I'm trying to say in my paintings, because it's about these things which are not set through a face or through a specific word or something. It's more subtle. Subtle, is that a word?
Yes, we pronounce it subtle.
Subtle.
Yeah,
thank you. Because it's more about how color changes or how the density of the painting changes, or about how weight is replaced in the painting. So it's really small things I try to understand in each painting. So, and this is really helpful not to concentrate on a portrait, because it's just a form like a landscape I fill with these transitions. And I figure out then, okay, now it's getting really, really warm. So I change color in a certain direction, and I feel then figures get closer or more distant just in this sphere without saying too much. It's more about feeling. That's also why I use these faces over and over again, because I don't observe how do they smile. I'm rather observing how does my perception change through color or through the material of painting. This is why I paint. Otherwise, I would probably speak or write. It's a different approach to say something, and so I was really happy about these faces, because I don't have to think about a face when I do the face. Does that make sense? Yeah. And also, it's again connected to that idea of a stone figure. It's a stone face. So when we come to the history of it, it's still a dead body demonstrating a living body. It's a weird thing, and it's connected to my feeling of being human, and what I just explained in the conversation beforehand. So about all these parts of me which are disconnected but still are there and still look like human-like. But if we don't feel, we lose our humanity. So it's necessary to get back to that.
Yeah, totally.
You don't have to think while painting to more be really in the process of painting something. That's why I do repetition.
Yeah.
Because I don't have to find new themes, or they just pop up.
Yeah.
So you have a new texture and then you have a new theme, and it's something to understand about how to paint, because it's always about learning and actually also getting better in painting. Because I didn't do, for instance, when I started the textures, that was the first time I did these different textures. So I had to figure out how do I do a reflective tight. How's that possible? Tight is the right word for tight? No. What is the word for that? For this? Not a sock, but when you have it.
Tights.
It tights, yeah. So if you have like a reflective tight, because it's silver or golden, I didn't do this before, so I had to learn how to do the material and the reflections, and I love to learn during painting. So it's always also in something which keeps me going, to be curious about the next thing, without making it complicated in story-wise and having a big narrative. No, it's not something I'm interested in. I'm more like, how does it feel? How can I transfer this feeling? How do we perceive it? do we want to get close or want to get more distant? So I'm really interested in these psychological aspects about an image. And that's why repetition is also so necessary, because I learn through repetition, but I also see the necessity of the image becomes stronger. It's obviously, for me, very necessary to do the painting. And I like to have like a painting 3 times in a show, because then I'm like, it's really necessary. You have to really look at it. And then you have to look at it again in the repetition and again. So I'm hoping that my viewer is not getting bored by it, but is also like me more triggered to get closer and to understand in a